like original bricks. It looked like better than the original one. And आजकल लोग टिम्बर से भी बनाता है, ये अभी कमर्शियल हो गया। ऑन लार्ज स्केल में लोग बना के अब हॉर्नबिल मारना ही छोड़ दिया। आगे तो वो ब्रिक्स के लिए और पिलर के लिए मारता था, अभी इस अवेलेबल। तो क्या अब सबका बच्चा बड़ा सब और बाहर का लोग को भी वही गिफ्ट देता है। अब इवन द PM नरेंद्र मोदी ऑल्सो वेयर दैट हेड गियर्स और पब्लिक स्पीच प्लेटफॉर्म में लगा के भाषण, इस टाइप का मतलब दिस इज अ सक्सेस। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Tabisal. Now, come to Mr. Baruah. As he said, he has a long year of experience. He started with wildlife, then moved to the other wings of department, and currently working with the afforestation for the what you call the board. Now, just wanted to check with you is you also have been working on various nature-based solutions in the board. So how are you trying to, are you trying to integrate some of this nature-based solution, including restoration, into the policy of the Assam forest policy, which the last one probably was of 2004, is long awaited. So that how are you thinking on that, and any challenges that you think that can impact, the integrating the various nature-based solutions into the policy? And also, how do you think this group of ERA members can help you in getting that work done?
Hello. Actually, after completion of my 40 years of service in the Forest Department of Assam, now I am working in Assam Agroforestry Development Board as an NBS expert. NBS, I think all of you know, it's a nature-based solution. Presently, we are working in the floodplains of River Brahmaputra. As all of you know, that River Brahmaputra is the lifeline of the people of Assam, as well as sorrow for the people of Assam, because during floods, majority of the areas are submerged, causing extensive damage, as well as just after the flood, massive erosion took place due to various reasons. And Government of Assam has already entrusted WRD Department, Water Resource Department, to protect riverbanks by way of they call it a grey structure, that is embankment protection by way of geotubes, geobags, porcupines, construction of embankments, spars. But later on they realized that that is not only the protection. Until and unless the reclaimed areas, if they don't cover it up with green vegetations, soil, erosion cannot be minimized or stopped. With that idea, actually Agroforestry Development Board came in along with WORD department to start with NBS in the riverbank areas. Now, riverbank areas is a government land or there is no any state, directly people are not there's a patazan is not there. So after receding of flood, people do rabi cultivations. Someone goes for maize cultivation. Then all are annual crop. The result is that if you do annual crop in these areas, you have to plow regularly. Once you do plowing, means you are loosening the soil. So you are in an indirect way, without knowing the actual facts, you are allowing erosion to take place. So we want to stop this, and to stop all these things, first of all, you have to work with the communities. Without taking confidence from the communities, you cannot do this type of works. So that is why we start sitting with the communities, we have organized meetings, and then we start developing the microplans according to their ethnic knowledges, because Assam is a very diverse state. if you go to upper North Bank, you will find missing communities. If you come down a little bit down, then you will find a lot of Nepali communities. And further down, there are Ahoms, Assamese, Boru. On the southern bank, you will find Moran, Motok, Singpho. There are different communities. So each and every community have different culture, different type of their livelihoods are also different. For an example, the missing communities, they are basically they rear pigs more than they rear other livestock, and they go do sericulture farming. The Assam silk, everybody knows, so there's Dhemaji and Dhukwakana area is the hub. So in these areas, when we going to implement, because it's a really very challenging job, because NBS is a new trans, and to implement until and unless you don't get any confidence from the communities, it is difficult to implement. Apart from that, we are always concerned with that the benefits should go to the communities. So when we select species, it should be beneficial to the communities. For an example, if we plant some host plant of larvae, silk larvae or muga larvae, then definitely those people will accept. And if you come down little bit down, the people are Nepali communities. Their main livelihood is livestock. So if I plant the silk tree, Mora salva or mulberry trees, they will not accept. We have to provide them grass species because their main requirement is grass. So if you come further down, the requirements are different. So with that idea, we started traveling all these areas, and we developed some pilots in each and every areas. And we have already planned to make one pilot at Dhukwakana area, one pilot in Lower Assam, and we will keep on going initial because we are pretty new in this field. So we'll develop some pilot project in each and every areas, and we'll study what species people will accept and what species grow in these areas in a better way. Because Assam have a different agroclimatic zones. That there are 6 agroclimatic zones. So each and every climatic zones as well as different forest types. So we are selecting species in such a way that that fits in this area, and we are concentrating on only indigenous species. So we have still pretty new. We have started the pilot project, and we are doing study on this, and people already accepted. They have given the protection of our plants. That's a good sign, and the results definitely will come after 3-4 years. Then only we'll know whether people have accepted our NBS program or not. Thank you.
Mr. Baruah very rightly said that when you need to carry on this program of either restoration or agroforestry work, that is working beyond your forest areas, you really need support, whether inside the forest, outside the forest, restoration, agroforestry, the support of community is very, very key. And I know you touched upon some of this issue, but I just also wanted to understand from you, how are you using agroforestry as a avenue or tool to provide that economic stability and as a mechanism of climate change adaptation for the marginal and low farmers and the local community, and if you can also share some of the examples that you think that has helped of the agroforestry plants as well as product that have been able to help develop. And also, is your department also working in trying to create that market linkage? One point is you are preparing the product, but are these people also able to get a real market to get the real cost of the various products that have been coming out of your agroforestry approach and initiatives?
Yes, we have already planned accordingly. So, as all of you know, that Assam is a biodiversity hotspot areas, and we have lots of species. Especially, people are using in anthropobotanical species, then fruit-bearing species, and the soil in the state of Assam is slightly acidic in nature. So, citrus type of fruits grows extensively here. So we are promoting all these things in such a way that they can get the market. For an example, in my first deliberation, I told you that Assam having big problem of livestock. Just I'd like to give you an example. So livestock program, and so doing cultivation in open areas is always difficult. And fencing, as we all know, is a very costly affair. If you go for Baruah fencing or chain link fencings, expenditure comes, and the marginal farmers, they cannot afford. And in Assam, majority of the farmers are marginal. You don't find any farmers having 100 hectares of land. Is no, not even a single one. Other than tea garden owners, all are marginal farmers. So for them, investing that much of money for a small plot of land is extremely difficult. That is why we are now promoting biofencing. Biofencing, especially we are promoting Assam lemon. Assam lemon advantage is that the Assam lemon having a very, hard thorn that prevents domestic element to enter in their paddy fields or their, baris or backyard gardens. And apart from that advantage, lemon, the citrus, aromas actually, elephants are, this is a repellent rather. So elephant doesn't come. So in Assam is an elephant country. Everywhere you find elephant causing damage to household, their paddy fields, their stores, and if they go for such type of planting, they can protect their house, their cultivations, everything. And we have already done plantations in Mrigen areas as well as in Rani Polasbari areas, because all these areas are having some problems with Mrigen area livestock, and Rani area wild elephant problem is very, very high. So people have already planted lemon trees, and of course again here that only after 2 years we'll get the actual results from that. And apart from that, already some of our other organizations like Vibhuti is here. I have seen Vibhuti here. He is from Aranyak. So they also started same type of works in and around Manas National Park, and it's a successful program. So apart from that, there are many other spaces which can be utilized as a biofencing. And in Assam, for an example, I like to tell you some few things that when we promote any spaces, we try to find out how to link up with markets. So in Assam, we don't have a mandi system. In other parts of India, you will find mandis, but Assam, we don't have mandis. So we want to develop such type of things in some of the areas so that farmers can bring their products to those areas for selling. Number one. Number two, we have to establish some small units in each and every villages. For an example, if we can packaging units for bay leaves. Bay leaves grow in this part of Assam, and if you go to a supermarket, you will find that a small packet of bay leaf, 50 grams, costing 50 rupees. And if you go to a village market, a bunch of bay leaves costing 10 rupees. So if we can give him some entrepreneurs to go and start a packaging unit in those areas involving the women folk, then definitely benefit goes to it. So we have already planned such type of things with species-wise plantations. We are planning for alley cropping, trees with pineapple, trees with ginger, trees with garlic. So this type of plan we have already started, and hopefully if we can get some successful outcome as well as people come forward, we can go in an extensive way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Baruah. I think you have really elaborated the benefits that you are trying to pass on to the local committee. Now I'll come to Rohit. You have been, practicing restoration and land use management across landscapes. Started from Pakke, and then now you have, been going to Maharashtra, Western Ghats, and various other places. Now, as a restoration ecologist, do you think that the entire science of restoration has percolated to the real practitioners in the ground in terms of the State Forest Department and the other practitioners who are working in this? Have been able to translate and move from plantation to restoration, and do they understand the nuisance of restoration in the various landscape? And because of deficient time, I just wanted to also touch upon is you have been also conducting workshops for growing restoration ecologists across the landscapes. Who are the type of people who come to you for such restoration, and have they been able to take the mentorship, the training that they get into the, and if you can share one or two examples of that, that would be great. Thanks.
Thanks. So I'll start with the second question. And so the workshop participants that we've got, we try and gauge an interest in restoration and whether they are already engaged with it before we select those participants. And yes, so the workshop itself gives a theoretical and a nice understanding of how restoration has to be done, about how you look at benchmark sites, how you identify the levels of degradation, what you do in nursery and stuff, those things. But with a couple of our restoration participants, workshop participants, we've gone ahead and we've got them involved in our planting actually. Because when you actually do the planting, it's a different ball game. And the different things about getting local community members participating, finding the right time to plant and all that. So we've been getting them to participate in it. So that gives them the complementary exercise. With other restoration workshop participants, we've also gone and helped them in their restoration activities. So the follow-up activity with the workshop, that has helped. And I think that engagement, we continue to do it with certain practitioners within a certain zone of influence that we have. So that helps. Regarding the communication, so we are trained as scientists, we are not the best communicators. And in the last 10 years itself, the way of communication itself has gone from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram and all of that. And of course, and therefore I think the space that Rita and her team have taken is really critical. And I think we have to go in partnerships. That's the best thing, because we know about restoration, they know about communication. So partnering with them and getting aspects of those also, that is really critical. And that is what is going to help spreading the word about how ecological restoration, what principles are to be followed. And I think ERA itself is doing a fantastic job with the outreach group, that desk that is there. And they are creating these videos and others as part of that desk. A lot of other communication material is being created, both to inform policy and actually on-ground restoration. So I think collectively, I think the fact that ERA is doing it with bringing people with different skill sets together, that's the way to go, I think.
Communicating is one aspect of it, and I understand as a restoration ecologist, as a scientist, the difficulty in communicating with various stakeholders, especially bureaucrats, policymakers, and other things. But I also wanted to understand is the entire restoration science that we are talking about, the entire restoration process that we are talking about, has it really percolated to the people who have been doing things in the ground, especially the State Forest Department, and probably I can open this to others as well, because I've been discussing with a lot of officers from across the state, and not just Northeast. And one of the things that they're saying is we are doing it day in and day out. But probably had we known the process of doing it the right way, we could have just done it. It's just a matter of doing it and moving from plantation to restoration. All other process remains the same. So do you see that changes is coming in?
So the thing is, again, that it's a two-part problem. One is the part where, for example, when we work with Pakke, and the field director sir, Tapi sir had allowed us to engage with it, and his staff and all of the other team members were helping us with the restoration work. And so that was a nice way where we were able to establish partnership with the forest department and do it, and also take their help in our nursery, because some of the seeds and all of those germinate and grow them in a nursery and all that. Some of their staff had some experience that they shared with us, and we really benefited from them. And so partnerships, of course, so we've not reached there. The big question that you're asking about whether we've been able to do it as scientifically as we should be doing, no, we've not reached there. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement there. And I guess, the partnerships are really critical, as with Rita and with the forest officers there, and that engagement and partnership that is there. And Siddharth was telling me in the morning how they've got the Maharashtra Forest Department, who's told them that you guys do, with your experts, you do the restoration across the state of Maharashtra. That kind of partnerships, if you're able to galvanize across different states, that allows a lot of room for experts to come together and work together, and that's something that we should look forward to.
I think this is probably some food for thought for the entire ERM members, and probably during the next meeting we can see how, and during the process we can see how do more we engage with the various state forest department in the entire restoration work. I'd like to come to Dr. Pulu. You have been working with the Idu Mishmi committee for a long time to protect the ancestral land, the various resources. How did this journey entire started? And when you work with the community, how do you identify which area needs to be protected, how much area needs to be protected, and where do you see your role working with the community and getting that thing? So if you can share this, because there are people, a lot of people who have come from outside Northeast, and how the community mindset works in trying to identify lands for protection and the extent, in case if you can touch upon that.
Okay, thank you. So, if you see, like you said, many are from outside Northeast. So let me tell you something about our indigenous culture, indigenous way of living. You know, so see, in our place, there is that used to be our ancestral land, which we are protecting now. So we, since ages, we as a indigenous community, we always we do respect each other's land, or say every clan or every community, they have their own mountains, they have their own clan land. So we always respect each other's land. You cannot just go and hunt there or extract any resources. That respect was there since time immemorial. So the same thing, if you look at the CCA part, or say in terms of conservation and all, we are also somewhere talking about those things. So that's how we convince them that the CCA concept is not a new thing. It's the things which we were doing will again we let's redo it, because of the modernity, because of the so many things we started neglecting all those culture or all those customs. So let's do that again. And while convincing people, because Tapi sir said, like of course our community members were also hunter. So it's first thing when we said that, okay, you outsider don't hunt in our clan's land, but we have to first convince our hunters. So that's where we have rounds of meeting with our own people first, that we convince the hunter that you do not hunt, because most of the hunters were in 40s, 50s, because we young people and we are all engaged in other livelihood, we don't hunt, but those say seniors, they were still hunting. So we convince them, say after 4 or 5 years your eyes will not allow to go to the forest and the hunt, and we young, we will not turn into hunter in these 4 or 5 years. So we convince them that let's conserve it, let's protect it for at least 10 years. We'll try it first 10 years, and after 10 years it doesn't work out, then of course whatever you community people says, we will do that. So that's how we have lots of meeting, and then we have boundary issues with neighboring community. So that's how we convince this one, our own community member.
Also, just one thing that really concerns me is the various community forests, the various sacred groups that we have across Northeast and other places. And with education, eroding values, and other, social media coming in, somehow I see that the young generations are losing that, that attachment for forest, attachment for land, and the values that was connecting with us, where we used to see live in everything, we used to see a social connecting everything, that culture, the ethos that was keeping our things alive, that is slowly eroding. How do you think we as a conservationist, we as a group, as an educator, as a documentary person, as a communicator, we can, try and build on that and bring them to the path of conservation or protection?
So in our part also, I think that is the same case with most probably in almost all areas. So in our part also, it's a bit challenge for us to convince the young people to join us to do the activities which we are doing. So initially we had lots of challenges. We had, of course, we had meetings with the youth group, then senior citizens. Now what we are doing is just to engage our youths. So we have so many stories. If you come to our place, we have abundance of stories, like why the Hulok Gebun is started shouting, why the certain frogs doesn't have teeth. So many interesting stories are there, and in each, almost every trees, they have stories. So what we do now is that every year, at least twice, we go back and then we call the young people, to the young people that let's have picnic, chalo picnic mein. So they do come, and then we go for the trekking, we go for the camping, and in those camping, in those picnics, we call our seniors. So they tell all those stories, and they will tell you that this is the same place where your ancestors, where your grandfather, grandmother used to work in this field, and you are brought up here. So that kind of connections we are trying to develop. So once you have a love for land, then everything will come back. And our people, let me tell you, I am the first generation who is doing graduation and all. So my parents, they never been to school. So if you go back to my village, you tell them that climate change हो रहा है, global warming हो रहा है, let's do conserve. They will not care. What is climate change? What is global warming? They don't know. But instead of that, you say that let's protect our ancestral land. This is the same land where our, nurture our, say ancestors, nurture ourselves. So we have to develop that kind of love. Then only they will come forward. So that is where, that's how we have to convince the people.
I think you rightly said, but the big terms like climate change and stuff may not understand. But we have to probably show the connect of climate change with the day-to-day life that certain places you see how the nature has changed with extreme drought condition of flood coming in. Certain places the water level have come down. I mean, I was talking to Mr. Baruah 20 years back when we were talking Assam. It was always considered to be in water sufficient with just 15-20 feet you dig and you get water, and today you get diggers to do 400 feet to get water, right? So probably we should not be using so big words, but probably with time and see how is that impacting life. I mean, some of you who would know some landscape where water was never an issue. Now they don't have water. The rivers have got, with mining activities and coals and stuff, the fish catches have decreased. So we have to see how to connect with that and probably convey to them. Rita, I'm sorry, it was not my intent to come last, but I wanted to hear the various views before I come to you. And you have been using storytelling and documentation in a big way in shaping the understanding about restoration and the restoration outcome. But do you feel subject like restoration gets enough space and attention in the mainstream media? And also the fact that, we at times try and sensationalize the failures of our conservation efforts or restoration effort, but not looking at the success stories. So, I mean, you as a person who have been, using storytelling, you have been person who is documenting it, you've been also working with various media. How do you look at this of oversimplifying the ecological process and trying to make the things a failure or success as a media person, and how do you engage with people to ensure that people are engaged in the entire restoration process, especially things like restoration which takes years and years. So how do you capture the attention of people for those issues?
No, I think the question you posed is really important, because I think it's very important to, even in communication, in mainstream media, to change the narrative around ecological restoration. And I think that's one of the reasons and one of the roles which ERA India is also focusing on. Because in mainstream media, or even when we talk of getting the forest back, usually we are only talking about what Divya and Shankar were also saying in the morning, that we always say, so many crores of saplings planted in a day, or we are breaking records, or so many saplings, lakhs of saplings planted. And that's what gets the attention. Or even if we talk about like the quick fix kind of forests, there's a lot of debate around Miyawaki forests. But what happens is, these stories get a lot of attention, and it's very easy for people to just use these numbers and throw it in the mainstream media. So I think one of the roles of communication right now is what is the real, everything how do communicators or media people, anybody, it could be the fellows, it could be mainstream media, how do you really create a space for them to understand what ecological restoration really is? There are very handful of mainstream journalists who are doing that. So I think sometime back, the ERA India, one of the desks, they actually had, they called a lot of the journalists, and there was a whole workshop around communicating ecological restoration, and some of the ERA members, they made them go through that entire experience. I think those kind of engagements right now are very important, and very important to scale those kind of engagements so that there's deep learning about what you're talking. The whole, I don't think there's even training in journalism schools around how to deep learn around these issues, especially around environment. And sometimes it's the same thing because you have to cover a story in a time frame. So I think, and with so much of information in the media right now, I mean, the information is, we are bombarded with information. We are bombarded with information. So I think we need to slow down somewhere. We really need to slow down, filter, spend time, maybe meditate, and then tell our stories. Not be in a hurry. I mean, it's a life of, we also do it. We also take selfies everywhere, take pictures everywhere. But I think for telling stories around restoration, it's very important to immerse yourself. And I think that's why, if I look at we are only one of the channels, but when we talk about the youth, you talked about that they get disconnected from, and that's been in our education system. Nothing in the education system tells them that their knowledge or their knowledge about the land, about the language is valuable. Everything which the education system does is takes them out of that and says, go to the city, live in a city, get a job, that should be your aspiration. So I think it's very important to create channels where that love for your land, what Abba was saying, is important. And I think that's what many of the people in the social sector are trying. There's an entire, I don't think, India, there's a lot of efforts. Green Hub is only one of them, where we are making sure that they spend time doing the stories. There are many fellowships where the youth are doing that. As soon as you open that window for them, as soon as you open that path for them, you'll see a lot of the youth want to make a difference. We've seen that at least now over the 10 years. None of them have left the region. None of them are aspiring to go to the city and get a job. They want to actually go back and make a difference. So I think we need to tap into that mindset. That's a mindset we need to tap into. I think that's the only thing.
Thanks, Rita. I think you've summarized it so well. I thought I had about 1.5 hours time, but I can see the time flag being raised. I'm so sorry. I have to take a few minutes extra because one critical issue that I really wanted to discuss with Mr. Baruah there is this entire issue of palm oil plantation being taken in various parts of Assam and Arunachal now. Where do you see the threat of this entire thing at a landscape, with the impact on the entire landscape, the fragmentation that is going to give, the social impact that is going to have, and other ecological impact that is going to have. Just wanted to have a quick reaction of you in terms of the policy on palm oil plantation in the state.
Very critical questions. Of course, we cannot support palm oil plantations in a place like Assam and Arunachal, as we all know that it's an elephant country. And elephant migrates 1,000 kilometers for their food, for other requirements, and in such situations, such type of large-scale palm cultivations definitely cause extensive damage, not only to the communities, even for other farmlands. So it's a very serious issue. And apart from that, the biggest problem is that apart from the farmers' lands, they are going to take up the fallow lands. Earlier, we used to call it unclassed forest areas. Maybe new generation doesn't have idea of unclassed forest area. So the area which are not notified as a reserve forest or wildlife sanctuaries or national park, but still having a good patch of forest, we used to call it the unclassed forest. So there's going to take up all these unclassed forests under this plantation as a government policy. So yes, of course we can't say anything, but no, being a environmentalist, I don't support it.
I can well understand the dilemma, but I think this group as a whole need to engage more with the state governments and the policy makers to try and convince them is the impact. You have seen across the globe how has that impacted Indonesia, Malaysia, and many other countries where this palm oil plantation is being, and how that has severely fragmented and lost to the loss of forest and biodiversity in this. So we need to probably engage more into that. One last aspect that I really wanted to touch, but I don't think we have time. But I leave as a thought for all of you is this entire carbon market that we talked about. Is that really helping genuine restoration efforts, or is it encouraging creation of low biodiversity carbon plantation that misses the larger ecological goals or parameter? In case if anyone from the audience wants to answer, or should we just sit and think and sink with this idea and see where are you moving to? I'm sorry, I wanted to also open this for discussion with others, but time doesn't permit, but we can always discuss outside when we have time. So I would like to thank all the panel members, and in case the carbon thing that I wanted, in case if anyone wants to raise a hand and talk on that.
मेरा ये कहना है कि इकोलॉजिकल जो रेस्टोरेशन है उसका इट शुड बी वेरी साइट स्पेसिफिक, मतलब कहाँ क्या प्रॉब्लम है उसको देख के करना है, एंड क्योंकि वो लोकेलिटी क्यों इकोलॉजिकल डिसबैलेंस हुआ है तो उसको देखते हुए हमें एड्रेस करना होगा. तो द रेस्टोरेशन शुड बी पीपल ड्राइवन, लोगों का चाहत में होना चाहिए. जैसा द स्पीशीज व्हिच वी प्लांटेड दैट शुड बी इकोनॉमिकली वायबल होना है. इट शुड बी इकोनॉमिकली वायबल एंड सोशली एक्सेप्टेड एंड इकोलॉजिकल सस्टेनेबल होना है. ये बात नहीं कि पाम ऑयल लगाओ, ये दैट आई डोंट रिकमेंड दैट. वही लोकेलिटी का ही जो भी स्पीशीज जो कमर्शियल वैल्यू हो, जिससे लोगों को थोड़ा फायदा हो, और उसको मतलब इंटरप्रेन्योरशिप सिस्टम में लेके जाना है कमर्शियल टाइप में. आप ये लगाओ, आपका ये होगा, वो होगा, ये एक्सप्लेट करना होगा. That part we have to role we have to play. Then इकोलॉजिकल रेस्टोरेशन में हमें फर्स्ट ध्यान देना होगा प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ द एग्जिस्टिंग प्राइमरी फॉरेस्ट एंड सेकेंडरी फॉरेस्ट. जो एग्जिस्टिंग फॉरेस्ट को हमें बचाना है उसको फर्स्ट फोकस करना होगा. उसके लिए हम कैसा पॉलिसी मेकर को कन्विंस करना है, कोशिश करना है. एंड कहीं से पानी जनरेट होता है तो लोगों को पैसा बात देना है एज इनाम पर. आपका ये बोनस फॉर प्रोटेक्टिंग दिस फॉरेस्ट. इस टाइप का हम अगर करता तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है. और सेकेंड तो हम रेस्टोरेशन देखना है. एग्जिस्टिंग जो है उसको विदाउट इफोर्ट हम कैसा बचा सकता है, और जो हमें जो खर्चा करेगा रेस्टोरेशन के लिए वो पैसा हम लोगों को उसको एग्जिस्टिंग फॉरेस्ट को बचाने के लिए दे सकता है कि नहीं, उसको भी हम देखना होगा. बस.
थैंक यू ताना साहब. जब पैनल में यू हैव सच गाँव बूढ़ा सीटिंग, तो यू गेट टू नो कि experience speaks, and he has rightly said that कि जो भी restoration work, whatever restoration work that we are doing across landscape, yes, restoration is important, but we have to see also how do we pass the benefit of conservation with the local community, and that's the key word that he has used. With that, I would like to thank each and every panel member for your time and for discussing. I know it was too short a time, but we can always discuss outside as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.